The old saying, "Don't bring the knife to a gunfight," seems to have formed the brief for the 2016 Mercedes-AMG GTS, as it lands locally with both barrels blazing in the everyday supercar corral that has been dominated by the Porsche 911. It's not a bad fight to join either. The Porsche 911 has seen 12.9% sales growth this year over 2014, and the overall $200K plus sports car segment is up almost 22%. Roll on happy days. The new GT Coupe is officially the Mercedes-AMG rather than the Mercedes-Benz, heralding the new focus for the in-house tuning brand. The GT now replaces the gulping SL's AMG as the pinnacle sporting model available from the German marque. And in the metal, the GT really is a fabulous-looking thing. With obvious design cues taken from the iconic 1954 300 SL Gullwing, the AMG GT features a wide, gaping grille that feeds into an endlessly long bonnet and over-the-low cabin turret. The rear tapers into slim, LED taillights and an integrated pop-up spoiler. It is 2015 after all. While in profile, the AMG might be comparable to the Porsche from any angle, and particularly in our test car's iridium silver metallic paint, it is every way the Mercedes. There are some cool little touches too. The multi-beam LED headlights have a subtle AMG logo in the housing, and the 272 gloss black hexagonal points, yes, we counted them on the grille, give an almost shimmering effect to highlight the giant three-pointed start, which is back to Flavia flat style, size and prominence. Under the magnesium bonnet is a newly developed 4.0-liter twin-turbocharged V8 putting out 375 kilowatts of power and 650 Nm of torque. Conforming to the AMG tradition of one man, one engine, we can personally thank Alexander Casares for the mechanical surgery required to hand-assemble the GT's power plant. In a first for Mercedes, the turbochargers are mounted within the top of the engine rather than on the side of the block, something Mercedes calls hot inside the. This setup provides optimal airflow to the turbos, resulting in better response, better emissions and a more compact overall design. What is more impressive when looking at the engine though, is just how far back into the car it sits. Most of the M178 engine's 209 kilograms is actually behind the front wheels. The rest of the nose of the car is taken up with ducting and cooling, including a specific channel that directs air from the massive grille up through the bonnet and directly onto the turbochargers for supreme cooling efficiency. All this, plus the rear transaxle mounting for the 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, gives the GT the 47 minutes and 53 seconds front-to-rear weight distribution. And while principally constructed from aluminium, the AMG weighs in at 1,645 kilograms, about 200 kilograms either side of the lighter Porsche 911 GTS and heavier Jaguar F-Type Coupe. Unlike both the Jet and Portobello, the GT offers a relatively usable and spacious 350-liter boot, which can comfortably fit a pair of golf bags side by side. Perhaps take the other car to IKEA, however, as given the long and shallow shape of the boot, soft weekender bags and, well, golf clubs, are pretty much all that fits. Up front, the cabin is the high-end quality you would expect from a Mercedes of this caliber. There is a mix of leather and aluminium accents, and in typical personalization style, pretty much everything can be covered in either gloss $3,800 option or not $4,100 option carbon fiber. The seats are comfortable and supportive, and once you get over the bright red hue, the GT cabin is as nice a place to spend time as you want. A notable highlight are the 8 function buttons arranged in V formation on the center console. Not big on subtly those Germans. Sitting low and further back from the dashboard than you would in a C-Class, some of the ergonomics take a bit of getting used to, particularly the switch gear below the central vents. The gear shifter too feels a bit awkward to reach, almost in line with your hips. The trick, we discovered, is that most of the center console controls are more easily accessed by reaching over with your right arm. Strange but true. That said, with nicely sized aluminium paddle located behind the steering wheel, you don't have to linger there for long. It is, though, the more natural and better proportioned cabin space than the SL's this car effectively succeeds. Less separation between the two seats, more head and shoulder room, the clearer view across the bonnet that no longer looks to disappear off into the next postcode. Without those gullwing doors, the cause of the awkward SL's cabin packaging, it's also easier to get in and out of, though you do lose some rockstar feel. The seats themselves are also very sports-focused and lack the degree of give, adjustment and general long-haul comfort found in other AMG models. The command infotainment system and instrument pinnacle displays are common to other Mercedes-Benz models, but there are some functions conspicuously absent. The AMG GTS does not feature the excellent Distronic Adaptive Cruise Control system at this time, mainly because the radar array ruins the look of the 3-pointed start on the front of the car. Form before function, almost forgivable in a sports car. Regardless, any foibles are soon forgotten when you press the glowing red engine start button and the V8 rumbles lazily into life. Sounding like an idling ski boat, by oral thrill alone, the AMG can put a smile on any face. Given the AMG will spend most of its life around town, the standard comfort settings of both the suspension and gearbox make urban beauties very livable. The suspension has 3 settings: Comfort, Sport and Sport Plus, each with varying damping rates. Road imperfections and speed humps are manageable in Comfort but tend to be a bit jarring in the Sport and Sport Plus settings. It does thump over square-edged road imperfections and move about over lumpy surfaces, though it applies so much footprint to the road surface that it rarely seems to become unsettled, allowing you to enjoy the more compliant ride while still sounding like a hooligan. There is an active exhaust function that bypasses the silencing baffles to free up more of that addictive V8 crackle, perfect for runs to the shops. In its lowest setting too, the gearbox is smooth and generally effortless to deal with in traffic. Swapping city for country gives the Mercedes a chance to open up and stretch its legs, and the new AMG does not disappoint. You quickly discover that, in regular sport mode and the gearbox left to self-shift, the GTS can be effortlessly brisk in covering territory. It feels light on its feet, the energy of the 4.0-liter bi-turbo V8 unfazed by the car's mass. Selecting Sport Plus increases the drama and excitement of the car, and the exhaust growl is only bettered by the induction noise of the turbos coming from under the bonnet. Response, anywhere in the rev range, is hugely impressive. Squeeze the throttle and the GTS pulls harder every time. Lift, and you are treated to a firecracker-like explosion from behind. Grab a shift paddle and the gearbox drops into manual mode, though with flexible to work always on tap. Few gear changes are required to maintain speed through naturally flowing valves. It'll pull cleanly and confidently in 4th gear out of tight corners, where most cars prefer 3rd or even 2nd. The car feels balanced and never too twitchy, although the suspension in its firmest setting is perhaps a little too stiff for Australian B roads. Turned into extremely sharp and accurate and While the light steering makes it an easy drive, feedback through the wheel isn't as involving as in the 911. The steering is also a little vague off-center at low speed, improving in feel and communication the harder you push and the quicker you go up the pace, and there's none of the dartiness like that found in the old SLs. You can place the GTS accurately through corners with surprisingly little steering input. Powering out of corners, there is a hint of oversteer as the 295mm wide rear Michelin tires deal with the brutal onslaught of torque. But keep your inputs smooth and the bent rockets away with rewarding confidence. And while it doesn't take a huge amount of right foot provocation to break rear end traction, the tail is surprisingly planted, even on damp surfaces, and the sheer corner exit drive is tremendous. Better yet, dig into the handy individual mode and the GTS can be perfectly tailored to suit a great back road suffering from lumpy and inconsistent surfaces. You simply assign whatever sporting tune for the engine, transmission, exhaust and ESP that tickles your fancy, and leave the dampers in. Comfort works a treat. Cruising back to town on the freeway, the heart rate of both driver and car back to normal, the GTS returns to a quiet and comfortable tour. From the moment you hit the start button, it's an eventful thing to drive. And like a true thoroughbred, it's more than willing to serve but lofty levels of excitement and ability depending on mood and circumstance. The Mercedes-AMG GTS is a tremendously fun car to drive. It's still more GT than pure Sportster, as despite all your setting choices, there are still computers and assistance systems working away to make the car point where it should and make you look and sound good in the process. Worth noting too that the car we tested is absolutely standard and has no options, which means what you see in the photos is what you'll get for your list price of $295,000 plus on-road costs. The 2016 Mercedes-AMG GTS is the first in a line of new sports AMG models due to land over the next few years. We may see more hardcore versions red, black series in the future, but for now, has an equally livable and head-turning alternative to the staples. The Mercedes-AMG GTS is an impressive starting point for the new performance brand.